Statistics show that bullying is becoming a huge problem in schools across the country. In fact, according to the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, close to half of all children are bullied regularly. And in the last decade, a new form of bullying has even emerged, cyberbullying. And joining us this morning as part of our book author series to talk about her own personal experience is Brenda Poage, author of Ima Nobody Becomes Somebody. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about what you went through as a child. You were bullied.
I was. Growing up, kindergarten and pre-K were not mandated classes, so I started out in school in the first grade. And it was very hard because I didn't know how to write my letters correctly. I didn't know my alphabet, and I had a really hard time just learning shapes and colors. And so I had to go to special classes. And for me, it was really hard because I was given the nickname Special Ed, even in the first grade. I would come out and the kids would just call me Special Ed, and it carried through with me throughout my elementary years.
It bothered you tremendously.
It did, and it was really hard that I couldn't talk to someone about it. In school, teachers tell you it's not okay to tattletale. So you didn't have anyone that you could go and talk to when they had 16 to 20 kids in a class. They didn't have time to listen.
So you decided to take your personal experience and you created Ima.
I did.
Tell me about her.
Well, Ima Nobody is a character. Her first name is Ima, of course, and her last name is Nobody, because I think many kids at one time or another feel that way, especially those that are being bullied. They're not sure where they fit in at. They're not sure if anyone really cares if they're there at school or even sometimes at home.
And how does she deal with this terrible situation?
Well, she has a best friend that she has met in the first grade, and her name is Junie Kakuni. And Junie teaches her that it's okay to stand up for yourself, and it's okay to not let someone downgrade you and define who you are.
Now, this book is for what age group?
Ages 8 to 12.
8 to 12.
Yes, ma'am.
What I love about it, and I was looking over it, and I want my 8-year-old to read it, is that Ima becomes somebody in the end. She endures.
She does.
Tell us how.
Well, Ima goes against her school bully in the school Olympics, and so he's telling her that she'll never win in the Olympics, and she teaches him in the end that, you know, he's not going to define her and he's not going to set limits for her. And so she and Junie devise this plan in the last few chapters of the book, and Junie trains her, and in the end she pins Billy down and she wins the school Olympics. She gets a trophy and she shouts out loud and proud, I'm a nobody and I'm somebody.
Because I became somebody.
Right, because I became somebody.
I love that. Now, what I also love about this book is it's really not just a book for children who maybe have been bullied, but even children who have not.
Right. I'm hoping that the book will open up a line of communication between parents and children might read the book and say, I can relate to Ima in this way. And maybe even the bully can say, well, I can kind of see why Billy is acting that way, or, you know, just question both sides of the issue.
And look at both sides.
Yes. And
kind of come to their own kind of, you know, definition of what it means to them.
Exactly.
Now, as a parent, I've never experienced this with my kids, and I hope I never have to. But what advice would you give me, or maybe a parent out there, that one day encounters a child coming home crying and say, you know, I'm being bullied? What would you tell me?
Well, a lot of times kids feel like they can't talk about it because they don't want to be classified as a tattletale. Right. So what I do with my kids is I tell them, come home and we're going to do what we call tattle talk. And when you tattle talk, you come home, and I know it's a minor case of bullying. It's not anything major. They come home and they'll say, I may have something I want to tattle talk about today. And then I'll ask, well, what is it that you would like to talk to me about? Whether it be someone stuck their tongue out, made a face, called them a name, whatever. I know it's a minor case of bullying, but we're going to talk about our feelings and question maybe, is he doing it to someone else, or is she doing it to someone else? Is it just you? And then that way you have something you can go and talk to the counselor about and say, my child's come home and she's talked to me today, or he's talked to me today, and this is what's going on, and this is the student. And maybe the counselor can get into that student's mindset and find out what's going on at school.
Great information. Thank you so much for sharing your personal experience and for creating Ima Nobody.
You're welcome.
Who became somebody.
She did.
Thank you, Brenda, very much. And if you want more information on Brenda Poage, just go to her website at imanobody.net.